I think with selling the gyms, you have to sell your gyms when they're doing well. I think a lot of people want to sell gyms when they're struggling. Nobody's going to buy your gym.
Welcome to Barbell Business. I'm Mike Blitzer here with Doug Larson and Marcus Gurzy. And we're up here with in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. Santa Monica.
Yeah, we're up here with AJ Rivera. And we're going to get in, during this show, we're going to get into buying, selling gyms. We're going to get into, what was it we were going to go over, Marcus? you said make sure.
Creating and selling high-end packages and programs through your gym.
See, this is why we have multiple hosts on the show.
And
we support each other.
And especially we're going to talk about how to price those programs appropriately, which means usually charging enough to make it worth your time.
Yeah. So AJ comes from the strength and conditioning world. He owned 2 strength and conditioning gyms in Chicago. He's sold them, and now he coaches and consults gym owners on sales and marketing.
Personal trainers, right? Anyone in the industry trying to make a good living doing what they love.
You got it, yeah. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for driving up here. I had no idea you guys were going to drive, all of you, all the way up here. I'm very humbled to be on here. I've been listening to you guys for a long time as well. So I told Mike that maybe a month ago when we had first linked up. So
yeah,
I'm excited to do my best and drop a little bit of knowledge and hopefully serve your audience here.
Yeah, excited to have you.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike mentioned that you own a couple of gyms in Chicago. What's the rest of your background? How'd you get into the world of strength and conditioning?
Totally. So I'll try to do the short one, and if anything sounds interesting, we can stop. But I wanted to be a personal trainer when I was 18 because I didn't want to go to college. I was in college anyways, but I was like, once I make enough money, maybe I can quit. And and so I started the personal training as literally kind of a side gig. I was unfortunately, I think probably not in the best shape when I started, but I got super fired up, started working out all the time, read every book I could, and really learned about it so that I could do a good job because I don't want to sell something I'm terrible at. That eventually led to me training out of like dance studios that I rented, out of parks, things like that. Eventually, the studios that I rented got shut down. I was like, I either got to stop doing this or I got to open my own gym. And so I opted for opening my own gym, and my first studio ever was in kind of a hood area right outside Chicago, like walking distance from Chicago.
Dude, I did the hood area too.
You did the hood area. Totally, the hood.
Sure
I
did.
mean, it's the only place you can afford rent,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that was my first gym, and that's kind of how we started. And I made all the mistakes because I had. Still have sometimes, but I had a really bad ego, thought I knew everything. I think a lot of trainers struggle with that because that's what we're being paid for, right? We know everything. Right?
Yeah, I think there's a process where you learn a lot in a short period of time, and then you realize you know more than your friends, and you're living in a small area. And this is before, this still happens. I was gonna say, back then there wasn't so many people on the internet letting you know how dumb you are. So
totally, I needed that. I still need it.
I mean, I think I know I've gone through it where it's like, I think I know a lot. I just happen to know more than the people around me. Yeah. And then you get out in the world and you go, I don't know shit.
Yeah, and that's 100% what happened. I was kind of thrown in there. I did think I knew everything, and it took me a long time to humble myself and start asking for help and getting mentors and coaches. And I love that you guys mentor and coach people. I think it's one of the most important thing, especially with personal trainers, box owners, because they're taught how to train well. They're never taught how to run their businesses, and so these passionate people can potentially end up out of an industry that they should be in. So through working with lots of mentors and coaches, I was finally, after years, able to get my gyms successful, opened a second location, kind of shifted to selling high-end programs. I sold everything. I sold anything people would buy. The one-time-a-week training, which I think is ridiculous. I sold Zumba classes at one time and yoga, even though I don't do any of those things. And And so eventually what felt the best was selling a high-end program that was really going to get them more results. And it ended up being the thing that was best for my clients was also the best thing for me and my business and my team. Yeah.
Was there a moment where you had that humbling experience where you kind of got bitch slapped?
Yeah. The famous humbling.
I mean, I
Tell
think
us about
your
your
bitch
favorite
slap.
bitch slap.
I mean, there's so many bitch slaps. I can't narrow it down. I can try to think of one of my
favorite one.
My favorite bitch slap, the one that I still think about and stay up late at night, was it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I actually had 2 locations and was still struggling because I convinced myself that being in the hood was the reason I was failing. And so I was like, I'm going to open in a rich neighborhood, and then I'll be successful, and that didn't happen. And so I had 2 studios that were operating inefficiently, and it was like a week before Christmas, and I remember gathering my whole team together, and I was like, listen, I haven't paid myself for the past 3 months. I have been literally pulling from personal savings just to keep everything breaking even. So either we have to lay off half our team and close a gym, or we have to figure something out. And and I was literally asking them, I'm like, I'm not going to take you guys on this ride if you don't think you're not for it, and I'm not going to lie to you either. We're struggling, I'm struggling, like there's no Christmas bonuses. I'm training every chance I get just to save hours and to save on payroll. And that was the moment. That was my favorite bitch slap, as you put it, and I still think about it. And that was great though, because that's when I started asking for help and working with different coaches and mentors and buying even info products and things like that, because there's always one useful thing in all of those things at least. And so it's slowly over time I became more and more okay with investing in myself, and that's when my business really started to do well, and I was able to outsource, and I was able to sell the expensive thing even in the hood. And actually the hood gym did better because our overhead was lower. And
Nice.
and it was great. And I was able to outsource my gyms. I was able to go to Vegas and go on vacation and go on holiday, and knew that I was going to be okay, and I could take care of my family.
When you say you outsourced it, can you explain a little bit more what you mean with that?
Totally, yeah. So outsourcing is that dream every personal trainer has when they start. Oh, I'm just going to get 20 clients, and then I'll pay some guy to work for me. It's not, I don't think, that simple, but that's essentially, what I was able to do was I was able to, not by myself, with the help of my team, and nobody accomplished anything of significance alone, I don't think. And with them, we worked together to develop a system. I actually credit and she's actually still now my VP of this company, and her name's Amanda Elegant, and I'm like, listen, I'm not organized. I'm creative, and I run around all over the place, and I start fires, and that's it. I need you to help contain this fire and build a system.
You're a true creative.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah.
I don't know anyone like that.
I'm sure you don't.
You sound
sure
rad.
He's like, you're like the coolest guy ever.
We should be bros.
I mean, this happened when we started consulting.
Got a lighter
Sidebar.
right here.
When we started consulting, I had told Amanda, my VP, like two weeks before. We went to Santa Monica, actually, for the first time. I was like, hey, I think we're going to franchise, so I need you to come up with all these operating procedures, every single thing that a franchisee person needs. I don't know where to start looking. You just go do it. And she's like, sure, totally. And I came back from holiday. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to do coaching consulting instead. And she's like, are you serious? I just created an entire franchisee operations manual. But,
shit.
Yeah, so she's really great at that.
Yeah,
and
hang on to her.
I did.
What's her phone number?
Yeah, exactly. You won't be the first person who's tried. And so when I told her that, she's like, I think slowly getting used to it. But she helped me develop the systems to build and we did it together. All the positions we needed to keep it as lean as possible, so that every part of the business could run and actually even grow without me. Because before then, and I think a lot of box owners, gym owners can probably relate to this, when you took a vacation, you were like, we're just going to do shitty for 2 weeks in this business. And
hope it doesn't burn all the way down.
Exactly.
While I'm gone.
That's a good distinction, is because there's, it can shrink, it can maintain, or it can grow.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment where I left for a week or two, and then there were more members when I returned,
yeah,
that's when I knew that that felt amazing.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a little bit of an ego. It's like, oh, shit, this thing doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, oh, am I even important?
Totally. Yeah.
I'm ready for my own island.
No, no. It's funny you said that, Mike, because like the significance thing, like I think sometimes we force ourselves to not be super successful or outsource our business in a way because it takes away all our significance. Like I go through this in all my businesses and cycles where like now even my coaching consulting business doesn't need me, and I was like, I was talking to my entire team the other day. I'm like, what's the point of me? I don't even need to be here. But it's a good thing because it allows other people to grow, and the point is your business isn't about you. It's about serving the people, and you can serve more clients without you physically necessarily in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and that's what I found happened to my gyms. I was able to outsource it in that way, keeping it lean, giving people decent jobs, paying them what they should be paid. And, it was when I left, the systems were so good that I actually, it was more successful when I wasn't there.
Yeah, I've actually heard gym owners who they're coaches, they're gym owners, and then they've built their website, and they'll say something like, well, I want to keep my website because, I built it, and I think it looks good. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I graciously I'll roll my eyes at them and say I don't know how even necessary a website is nowadays as much. I mean, an optimized sales funnel-y type website is better. I think that is sort of slowly replacing it. Like if your website is just some Weebly or whatever Squarespace thing you threw together and you spent hours and hours, I get it. Your sweat and tears are kind of into it, and your blood, whatever. But would you rather be super proud of this thing or serve the clients you intended to serve, right? So that's what I would say to that.
Great point.
Okay.
Yeah. But ultimately it has a job, right? It's about actually getting in front of and engaging with the people who you're trying to engage with, not just be your showpiece of like, look, I built my own website and it's cool and I like it. Doesn't matter if it doesn't appeal to your target client or do its job.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, I think it can be a waste of your energy as well. Like you could spend forever making your gym look amazing, but if you don't get a client, customer, student in there, then the gym serves no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we forget that a lot of times, or we're just afraid to start asking people for money.
So you build a business that can operate on its own where you don't have to be there doing the day-to-day, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't doing anything related to the business. What are you doing while your business is running on its own? Are you still meeting with your team? Are you still looking at financial statements?
Yeah.
Are you still being paid? Like, how are all these things running with respect to you personally?
Totally, yeah. That's a great question. I think it is you're never doing nothing. I think that's a lie if somebody tells you, yeah, you can do nothing and your gym will make – I think –
that's the sales pitch, but it's
the
rarely
sales
the
pitch.
reality.
Right. It almost never happens. I mean, you can have a lot taken off your plate to where you're not necessarily working that much, but I was meeting with my team. I was, in a weird way, it's almost quality assurance, right? You're giving benchmarks and setting goals for your team, making sure they hit it. And I spend a lot of the time, especially with our sales team, kind of just talking about their mindset and saying, listen, guys, like this is why we do what we do. And remember that when you're selling, or remember that when you're training with clients, that it's not about you, it's about them. I don't know, maybe it's my own personal struggle, and that's why I project it onto them so much, but the business has to be about serving. It can't be about you. It can't be the show. Look at my abs show. Hey, I have great abs, so you should pay me to train you. I don't think it works well.
Wait. What?
What?
That's been my shtick.
That's how Marcus has made money his
That
whole life.
works?
Just
I knew it.
the slow roll, the slow crumple like that.
You want some of this? $1,000.
I've been doing this wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should have just been doing more planks. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. Quality assurance meeting with my team. I ran the numbers, and at one point I had a bookkeeper. I didn't even run the numbers, but I just made sure we hit goals and made sure everybody was doing everything they were supposed to. And I really was just hiring the high-level people who were running most of the stuff, and I was checking with them. I don't think you need to micromanage every single person. By the time I sold my gyms, actually, I had one girl. I didn't meet her until after I sold her, and we had like a little party afterwards. She's like, nice to finally meet you now that I don't work for you anymore. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's how this thing runs.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Okay, well, what about pay at that time? Are you still taking a salary, or are you just doing profits, or how do you work all that?
Yeah, so I paid myself. I think a business owner should make six figures. I mean, $60K minimum, but I paid myself six figures by the end there because I'm the one taking all the risk. I'm the one making sure everything works. If everybody quits tomorrow, I'm the one who has to go in there and run it. And sometimes that would happen. I would have people who quit, or different people would have a medical thing, and all of a sudden I was a trainer again, and or an admin again, or a salesperson again. And I think that's what you're being paid for, to make sure the ship kind of keeps running. So I paid myself about $100K a year at the end there, and to just be the owner and make sure everything was running correctly. But yeah, that's what I did.
Okay. Did you get any resistance from your team at that time? Like for the people that are in there doing the day-to-day, like especially like the people who are higher level, like they're managing it, they're running it. Are you, if you're paying yourself $100K and you're not in there every single day, like is there any resistance where they're like, you're taking a lot of money but you don't do anything?
Yeah.
Did you get any of that at all?
So I think that's a really good question, like an excellent question. Because I used to have that fear a lot when I started, and I think I haven't had it for a while, probably because it's been a while. But a lot of trainers and gym owners, box owners struggle with that, thinking that, oh, somebody's going to think I'm making all this money and I'm not doing anything. One of the things I've done, and I learned this from a good buddy of mine, Jeff Woods, was as long as you give you make your dream big enough to fit everybody on your team's dream, they won't give you any sort of pushback, is what I found. So that's finding out what they want, right? Some people just want autonomy. Some people just want freedom, or some people want money. I think as entrepreneurs, we assume they all want money, and that's just not the case. Sometimes they just want to be heard. Amanda, who's my VP, she just wants to have a huge impact, and she wants her voice to matter, and so I give her that, which is great because I don't want to do things. So she can.
It is win-win.
Perfect.
I don't want to do things, and so she's she wants to have her voice heard, and she wants to be a part of something that matters without having all the risk. She doesn't want to have all the risk, and so I think knowing what their goals are and not keeping them small. Is the best way to keep them there long term. One of the people who ended up buying my gyms, his goal was in 5 years I want to own a gym. And I was like, when I had started, I probably never would have hired him because I've been he's going to steal my clients, right? I think that's a normal fear. But now I was like, well, maybe I could partner with him and open a gym with him together. That was my initial idea. Or, hey, maybe I can just help him. Because there's enough for everybody to win and everybody to be successful. And I always encourage people to do the math. How many people do you really need for your gym to be successful? Depending on how much you charge, anywhere from 60 to maybe 200 people, depending on what you charge, right? And that's probably not even 1% of your target market and where you're at. So there's really enough for everybody. And so maybe somebody isn't going to vibe with me or my gym, but they'll vibe with somebody else and they still need help. I don't want that person to say, listen, buy from me or don't buy. Buy from somebody who's good and who cares about you. So that's what I did to prevent them from sort of having any sort of resentment towards me. And I was very honest and open with them. And now in my consulting coaching company, everybody knows what everybody else makes. We're very open, and that's because I want people to feel like they're being paid fairly, and that I'm being paid fairly as well. So I don't overpay myself. I don't think I pay myself more than I should be making. And that's what I did in the gyms. I thought 6 figures is reasonable. All my managers made pretty good incomes as well, and they had lots of opportunity to make even more. So I put bonus structures in and things like that. So no, I didn't really get any pushback from almost anybody.
How do you show people what people are making? Is this a monthly statement, or they can look it up somewhere?
In my business now, I never did it in the gyms, but I maybe would recommend it. I know it might get people a little upset, but we just all know. I only have a team of 10 people, so we just all know what everybody makes in the company. We tell them what position makes what and why. And if somebody feels like they should make more, I would ask them why. Why do you think you should make more? And usually, if they have a good answer and they're like, well, I'm going to add this much value by doing this, 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 and this, sounds cool to me. All right. If you have a good reason, I don't want I don't want you to be a cog in a machine if you're working with me. I want you to be a part of the team. I want us to all be together. And I don't think it's like a pyramid. I think it's like a circle, and we all just sometimes different people are in charge of different things. When it comes to marketing, I'm not in charge of that. Our CMO, Corey Gladwell's in charge of that, right? When it comes to sales, our sales manager's in charge of that. I don't want to be the boss of that because that's not my zone of genius. That's not what I'm really good at. I'm good at finding these smart people. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just make sure they can keep getting what they want so that everything else operates in the business.
Mm-hmm. A second ago, you mentioned bonus structures.
Yeah.
You have an example how you structure bonuses?
Yeah, so I tried a lot of different things. I think having one is just the important thing. And I've also noticed switching them is also good because it gets stale for people after a while. So we actually would just like come up with a different random bonus every month, kind of not random, but based on what that month's projections were the year before and kind of stuff like that. And if they hit the goal, we would maybe give a very like a stipend bonus, like $1,000 or $5,000 to the manager, and everybody in the entire gym got an extra $100 or $200 or something like that. So something that really rallies people together in a fair way. And yeah, so I don't have one I think that I can really think of. I think the one I did for a while consistently, and then I went to switching it was if we hit $20,000 every month, I would give the manager an additional like $2K.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that every month they did it. And then if they were going to do it 3 months in a row, I was going to give them another $2K on top of that. So I don't know if it has to be that specifically, and I'm not necessarily an expert on the bonus structure, but I do recommend having it because it really gets people motivated. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear many gyms implementing anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me when you think of like what a gym business really is. It's a sales and marketing machine, around great training, but ultimately it all revolves around sales and marketing. And the golden rule for sales is to have an incentive structure to where people can actually, based on their performance, make a living. And so when you want to say, well, we want to grow membership, well, that means you have to have the person who's running this whole thing be incentivized to actually grow membership.
Yeah.
And if they hit it, they get a reward. And like you said, it's not always necessarily monetary. It can be in like, hey, you want time off, I'll pay for a 2-week vacation for you and your husband to go to the Caribbean where you've always wanted to go.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, I've always wanted that. Now they perform. We used to do the same thing where we would switch up what the incentive was just around what the individual wanted. Right? So if the person's like, I want to buy a new car, we're like, we're going to help you buy the new car.
Wow.
How much do you need? And then we'd say, okay, great, you have to hit these goals for the next 6 months to get your bonus, and now you get your new car.
Aston Martin.
It's going to be 3 years of hitting your goals, Mike.
That's amazing. I've never heard of that with like incentivizing and helping people with a specific goal. I think that's great, and I think it's dumb if you don't give some sort of incentive to your team. I get it if you're just starting, but if you're trying to grow, you're going to have to take a couple steps back over and over again. I mean, just to open your gym, right? You had to get a loan or take all your savings or whatever. You had to take a whole bunch of steps back, hoping it would eventually make you 6 figures or 7 or whatever you're trying to make, right? So, like, you have to keep doing that, I think, if you want to grow, and it's scary every time, I think. So, but.
So once you get to the point where you can step away and you minimize the number of roles you have within the company, it can kind of operate day to day without you. Eventually, you decided that you wanted to sell your gyms. What was the process for selling a gym? Like how does it actually happen? A lot of people have gyms. They're thinking they might sell it someday, but they have no idea where to start.
Totally.
What did you do? What did that look like?
So yeah, that's an awesome question. I think with selling the gyms, you have to sell your gyms when they're doing well. I think a lot of people want to sell gyms when they're struggling. Nobody's going to buy your gym, especially the barrier to entry is so low to open a gym. I mean, if you have 10 grand, really, if you have nothing, you could start a fitness business. You can go to a park or a beach and start an outdoor boot camp, and that costs you $0, right? So selling a gym, you're really selling, I think, the culture and the systems and the growth. So that would be kind of the first thing is we sold when we were continuously growing. Like I think we probably would have hit like 600K between both of them the next year had I kept them. But I was like, this is the time to sell it if I'm going to sell it. And I had already started coaching and consulting people, and I was enjoying that process more. So that combined with the managers I had wanted to own gyms. And so I don't believe in keeping people small. One of the guys was the same guy I was mentioning earlier. He wanted to, in 5 years open a gym. I'm like, what if I helped you buy this gym within a year? And he's like, that would be amazing. I'm like, I'll give you, here's all the numbers. I'll give you the exact system, because he had failed at opening a gym before. So he was really afraid to do it again. I'm like, here's my proven stuff, and I will be here for you for forever to help you with it. And I still talk to him almost every week. And, he does about 300K a year. So he does good. And he just wanted to know what he was going to do was going to work. That's all. Because he loves training people. And so, I sold it to him, and then I had another girl owned the other. It was the manager of the other one, and she's like, yeah, I would love to have this gym. I already feel like I'm the owner a little bit. I'm like, great.
So when you did that, because you sold it internally, you sold both gyms
Yes.
to each is the manager of each one,
Right.
right? Now they're two separate entities being owned and operated individually.
Yep.
Did you go through a valuation process and work with a broker to make the deal happen, or did you guys just do it all internally, or was it all just you put a number up, he said yes,
Yeah.
let's sign some papers?
No broker, lawyers, but that's about it. And they each had like financial analysts look at our numbers to make sure I wasn't lying, which is totally fair. You can like me as much as you want, but like look at the numbers, and they're like, oh, this is wildly profitable. This is good. And so they came up with their own valuations, and I sold it to each of them. And that was it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
When we come back, we're going to get into
The programs. Jesus. Get this man another cup of coffee now.
I felt so dialed in when we got here.
Before I started with my barbell business coach, I was all over the place. Didn't really have a plan for the gym. I didn't know what I was going to be doing 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, a year out. I was just so busy with the ins and outs and the coaching and the programming and the marketing and planning events and doing all of this stuff that I didn't really know where we were going as a gym. And as a result, the gym kind of just went in circles. I had between 85 and 105 members just bouncing back and forth and back and forth. People were coming in, but people were going out, kind of missing something. Since starting with the coaching program, when we first started, it really made me dive into what I wanted out of the gym, not just today or tomorrow, but for the future. They had us answer a lot of tough questions that really made you think about what you wanted and where you were going. But once we got the answers to these tough questions, it was very easy to make this plan for this month, this quarter, this year, to help us get where we wanted to go, to implement the programs, to hire the right people, to plan the right events. And really, I would say it's totally changed the landscape of my business over the last year and a few months.
And we're back with AJ Rivera. We're going to be talking about, now we want to get into, is there anything we might have left out about selling gyms that anything you want to add to that before we jump into anything else?
He's stalling. He forgot what we're talking about on the
We're
second
talking
half.
about gyms, right? Yeah.
Doug,
We're talking about fitness.
This guy barely knows me.
Something
barely
about
knows
something
me.
about barbells. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I think my experience of selling it to individuals is a lot easier than trying to sell it to other people. That's the last bit I guess I would add about selling gyms.
To sell it to someone on your internal team, you mean?
Selling it to the internal team, yeah. Because I sold it to managers, and I can't imagine how you would sell. I'm sure you could sell it to somebody as an investment. I think a CrossFit box would actually be way easier because it's like MRR, like it's recurring revenue and it's very predictable and stable. I think with kind of the model I run, it's easier to sell it to individuals because otherwise they're just going to start their own, I think. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Helpful.
We're waiting on
Mike.
you. What are we
this is
talking
your
about,
cue.
Mike?
Mike, what is it? You're fired. Hi, I'm Mike Bledsoe, and welcome back to the second half. We're now going to be talking here with AJ Rivera about how to create high-end packages to sell at your gym. Is that better? Did I do it?
Yeah, it was really good.
That was really good.
Thanks.
You just channeled my spirit. It was amazing.
You are my spirit animal, by the way. No, so you're I don't want to say expertise, but I know you said you put you help personal trainers, you help gym owners create high-end programs and packages that they can sell either as lead-ins to their evergreen membership offers or as add-ons to their core offering. Is that right?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically what I do. It would really depend on your situation. So I don't like to say there's like a one-size-fits-all for everybody, obviously. And but yeah, whether it's replacing their existing program, which is like what I did in my gym, I replaced my kind of low end with just high end, but I was doing just small group, or
What was low end for you? You're saying low end, high end. So I think
sure,
a
that's
lot of times in the personal training space,
Yeah.
those numbers look very different than in the CrossFit space.
fair enough. Yeah. So for us, our low end, we were charging like $130 a month for small group personal training.
Mhm.
So 8 people or less. Usually it's like 5, which is low. By the time we sold the gyms, we were charging for at least what would equal about $300 a month to $400.
And that would be the high end.
That would be high end. I would call it higher end. Yeah, it was more for
There's
sure.
still 8 people.
Still 8 people. Almost never was it 8. We kind of made that the cap. We really wanted it to be, 5 or 6. We did 8 because we had at the time 1 rig with 4 squat racks. We're like, great, 1 person can squat, 1 person can lift. And so 8 was like, that feels a little high, but really it's fine. I'll stand in the middle of the rig and I can watch them all and it's fine. But yeah, that's what we did. So 8 people, and by the end we were selling for what we would call high end $1,000 for like a 12-week program. So yeah.
So when you, because I know a lot of the gym owners listening right now are experimenting with creating 6-week programs, 8-week programs.
Yeah.
Like I said, either as a lead-in to get maybe they brand it as something that's not necessarily like if they're a CrossFit gym, it's not a CrossFit program, it's a transformation challenge, it's a boot camp, it's a something different to help bring in some additional people and then hopefully build the relationship and convert them.
Yeah.
How would you begin approaching creating a program like that?
Totally. So I think the first thing is how many people do you serve at one time? We bracket it off kind of 3 different ways. If it's less than, if it's 1 person, we recommend selling the 12-week program as either a challenge or an intro program, or it could just be your core offer. We did it as our core offer, but especially box owners, it works really well. It's like start with this. Right, and then you can spend extra sessions meeting with them and stuff, right? Like and teaching them you can include 1 or 2 one-on-one instructional sessions or a 1-on-4 or whatever you want to do. You want to sell something you would sell to your mom that's good enough for her that you believe in. And so if it's one-on-one for like a 12-week program, we say the minimum, and it can always be more, but the minimum was $2,000 for what we would call the semi-private model, which is anywhere from 2 to 8 on the high end. We would say the minimum is $1,000. And then for anything more than 8, the minimum is $500. But again, it can go as high as you want. And it really depends on if you serve 12 people, 15 people, 20 people. Just charge something that feels fair to you, and then make sure you over-deliver on what you're actually giving them. Don't have a bunch of upsells. Sell them the whole thing at once. This is just what worked for me. I'm not, that's the thing about advice. This is what worked for me. I'm not saying it'll necessarily work for you. It works for me and my clients. Put it all together and sell it as one thing and just raise the price if it's going to be your premium product anyways. Don't sell them $1,000 program and say it's an extra $7 a month if you want nutrition coaching. Like that's just include the $7 and that's what we did. And so that's what I would recommend for your kind of premium offering, and make sure you load it with stuff. Like ours was, we had a 6-week meal plan that was made by a dietitian. We would give them like a thing of protein. We'd give them an accountability group. We'd have a weekly call check-in that even if they showed up or not, they were just being checked in on every single week to see how everything's going. We gave them a private Facebook group, which is pretty obvious. We sent them like an e-product we had, a digital product we have. We made it almost impossible for them to fail. And that was kind of our idea and that was a little bit of our motto or mantra or whatever, was like make a program that's so good that if your mom needed it to survive or she'd be really sick, it would definitely get the job done. And then you can charge a premium for it because it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the idea of just charging the whole thing as one complete package and not nickel and diming people.
Yeah.
If you're going to pay $1,000 for something and then someone comes in after the fact and says, well, it's an extra $30 or whatever for this other thing, you're just like, come on, you're fucking hassling me at this point. Like,
Don't be Spirit Airlines.
That's right.
Yeah. The mixed nuts cost extra. Yeah, and the soda.
Your carry-on.
Yeah, exactly.
They charge you $25 for your carry-on.
Yep.
Yeah, when it comes to a program like that, yeah, Doug, I totally agree with you. You bring people in, you trick people in with a smaller price, and then you're upsell here, upsell here, upsell here. I don't think that's the way to go. I think it should be, if you can, make the product as good as you possibly can, make it quote unquote bulletproof, like you said, with all the different kind of accountability and product and et cetera, to make the program just fantastic.
Yeah.
Give yourself and the client the highest chance of success, right? You can now charge accordingly. They're going to have the best experience possible, especially if this is something where you're trying to build a longer term relationship with them to hopefully convert them into your regular membership on an ongoing basis.
Right.
Less sales events is always better, in my opinion. I prefer less and more focused sales events in a sequence rather than a whole bunch of little ones where someone can then kind of nickel and dime and then basically go through your program without getting all the support that would actually be necessary to get the result they actually wanted. And now they're like, yeah, I went through that program, it didn't work.
Totally. I think to add to what you're saying, the idea of having like a 12-week, and this is just an example, it can be however long you want, but a 12-week to start is very good for your client, because chances are, and maybe it's not the case for all of your clients, but if it's a new client, hasn't worked out in years, needs to get back into shape, they don't need a month of CrossFit. What they need is a tangible result from the CrossFit. And so the 12 weeks can potentially help them build the habit, so that even if they don't want to work out with you afterwards, they'll at least go find another box or another gym, or they'll at least have built up the practice. And so by giving them, hey, listen, by the end of 12 weeks, you're going to know how to do this, this, this. You know, if you're into body weight, you lost this much weight or this much body fat percentage, and you'll have this tangible result, or you'll be as close as possible to this result. They're now, instead of just thinking they're paying for a gym membership, they're paying for a result, which you can charge whatever you want for a result. Paying for a gym membership, it's a lot easier to compare it to other things. I can give Mike $300 a month, or I can go over to this, cheap gym and it's $60 a month, and maybe I'll just Google workouts.
Yeah, it depends on how much they value that result.
Totally. Yeah, and it really depends on your audience. For our audience, they needed to get their shit together, and they needed to commit to something long term, because they had done so many challenges, and 1 month here, it didn't work. 1 month here, it didn't work. We're like, do 12 weeks of something consistently, and by the end of it, you'll at least have a habit, and I can feel good about that.
So how did you market and sell these programs? How did you actually get the people into these programs?
Totally. Yeah, simplest marketing plan in the world. And Again, I'm not that smart, so everything needs to be very, very simple in my business. And so we marketed a free personal training session, and we used digital marketing and offline marketing methods. And they came in for their free session, and the session was a little bit of a training session, but at the end, we would sell them into our 12-week program. And that makes it a lot easier. I know a lot of people, and these work, especially for boxes and like martial arts and things like that. The bigger things, like people do 21-day things, 7-day challenges, 10-day this. The only problem I found with that was I didn't need that many clients, because I was doing semi-private, and people, it almost gives them enough time to like give up. So like we used to do 21-day or 28-day challenges, and yeah, you can hassle and keep them accountable, and that you should. But we always get people who fall off, or people who just showed up for the challenges. I don't know if you guys have ever had that. Mm-hmm. That's the most annoying, because I'm like, you just need to like actually build a habit here. You don't need a 6-week challenge every 6 months. You need an actual program, and you need to commit to something. Even if it's not me, just commit to something.
Yeah.
And that's why we started saying, listen, here's one free session.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to meet with you. And at the end, I'm going to see if you're cool. Some people we wouldn't try to sell if they were like had bad energy, or if they weren't a fit. Like if we had a CrossFitter come in, we would refer them to the local box that we liked. Like literally, we're like, we can't help you. Like we're fat loss people. We work with fat loss clients, but these guys can. Or bodybuilders. We have a random bodybuilders come in. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like I can hire you maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's what we would do. Free session. They came in. We sold them the 12-week program. After the 12-week program, we would sell them either another 12 weeks or a year-long program. And that was it.
I feel like the vast majority of times I hear people talking about marketing, it's almost always biased towards online, internet, digital marketing, and not offline methods aren't mentioned quite as often.
Yeah.
What did you guys do as far as offline marketing methods?
Sure, that's a good question. We didn't ignore offline. I think you should still do offline, because it's in many ways it's more sustainable, and it's an advantage you have against like the big corporate gyms. The big corporate gym can outspend you any day they decide to, and then you're going to have a hard time even showing up in your localized market. So I think we would do a lot, like a monthly seminar or workshop, and that worked for bringing in free people. We would do charity events not too often, because then it loses its specialness. But charity workouts worked really well, especially for bringing the husbands in, because the husbands, at least when we were operating, now it's a little bit more normal. I don't need a trainer. I'll just go to the gym and do my curls. I know what I'm doing. And so that gave them a reason to come in that wasn't for themselves. They're like, oh, I'm helping a charity and supporting my wife. So charity workouts worked really well. We would do bring a friend kind of challenges. And those still work really well, because people have so many people in their network they can bring to your gym, and they just need a reason to ask them. And so used to saying, hey, can you refer me to your friends? They're going to be like, whatever. Yeah, sure. But if you like, hey, it's bring a friend month, and you can win an Apple iWatch or whatever, Apple Watch. If you bring a friend in, I'll put a raffle ticket in for you, then all of a sudden they're telling 20 other friends, 30 other friends, literally. And we would generate leads that way as well. We also do JVs with people close. We were in like a little strip mall kind of area, so we had a juice place and a yoga studio right in there. And so we would do combo events. So they would get our clients, we would get their clients, and it wasn't really competing. A little bit the yoga, but not really. So all those things helped a lot in terms of offline marketing. And we also had like a Club 100 referral program, which is there's a million people who recommend it. Where if you referred somebody, we would hand you $100 bill in front of everybody, take a picture, tag everybody on Facebook. And I know that's digital marketing, but that's free digital marketing.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So I love how you led into this by saying like, well, we didn't ignore offline marketing, and you have like a dozen campaigns that you're running all the time because when we talk with box owners each and every day, and we're helping them, create marketing plans and actually generate leads and get conversions. And you ask them, like, what are you currently doing for marketing? Oh, I'm doing this and that. They do none of that.
It's free.
None of that. And those are really oftentimes, like you said, they're free. And oftentimes what we do, we're in the relationship business. So having the opportunity to actually build a relationship with someone through charity event, through Bring a Friend Month, through, creating these different events with other local businesses. These are opportunities for you to actually get hours of FaceTime with someone to build the relationship, have fun together, celebrate wins through a workout, through charities or whatever these things are, to really bring in like really big volumes of high quality leads that now already kind of know you and like you and trust you, so you can have another conversation. Say, hey, we're doing a free workout. We'd love to invite you in for this or for whatever the next step in your funnel looks like.
Yeah.
And it's so often ignored because they think marketing means I have to run a paid Facebook ad,
Yeah.
or it means like my posts on social. And that's really just a sliver of it. And really, if you're in the relationship business, you have to look at, well, how do I build more relationships with people? Not just how do I just get more numbers into my lead funnel. It's about what quality, where are they coming from, and really how can I make the most of my time and energy? Probably much more effective that way, hosting a monthly workshop and doing these events to get, just a steady flow of people on and eyeballs onto your business to, really keep your funnel totally full.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really important point, and I think it is ignored because for a long time, digital marketing was so cheap to get people in the door. It's a little more expensive now. It still works. It's just more expensive, so you have to charge enough and actually have a good program. You used to be able to have a shitty program and be successful because of digital marketing. Just leads coming in whenever you want. Now it's more expensive. I think it's good. It's getting rid of some of the riffraff or making them get better, which is also a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't own a gym studio anymore, but if I did, I would do digital marketing, but I would also focus my energy on just making sure everybody in my town thinks I'm the fitness guy. Like I'm just the only guy who exists. Like getting a public speaking engagement is super easy if you own a business. Like you can walk into any one of these like schools, universities, offices, and say, hey, I want to do a free like nutrition talk for your company, and they're gonna be like, really? Thanks. And and even if none of them buy from you, it's like people showing up on a webinar, right? Or listening to this podcast. They're now your audience, and they think you're the smartest people. And you are. No. But like it allows more touches so that those are the things you do if you want a real sustainable business. If you just want to make money today and tomorrow, just do paid advertising. But if you want long term, you have to do the offline stuff because your deliverable is offline. Like it just doesn't make sense, and it's free. It's free. I don't know why people don't do it more, but anyway.
Yeah, we work mostly with box owners. You come from the personal training space. Two-part question: what do you think that CrossFit box owners could learn from the personal training world, and what do you think the personal training world could adopt that CrossFit's brought in?
Sure. I'll start.
Or is adopting,
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with what can personal trainers learn from CrossFitters. I think the community in CrossFit, if done correctly by a good box owner, is amazing. There's almost nothing like it, I think, and I think it's why it's grown so, it's huge, right? And the retention is so high because there's this, you have sometimes elite athletes in there, but they're treating, somebody who has 40 pounds to lose with the same amount of respect and treating them like a human being. And that doesn't, it comes from good people, but it comes from the culture and the teachers and the owners. And that's amazing. I think we did adopt a lot of that, where we would have the people who lost 30 pounds and they're able to do cleans and all this cool stuff. And we would have them teach other clients instead of us teaching in the middle of session. And that happens in CrossFit boxes, at least to the ones I've been in. And I love that. I think it's really great. And I think it leads to a lot of retention. And I think the friendly competitiveness is good. In good boxes, there's the competitiveness, but it's not really with each other. It's with yourself. Ooh, do you have this movement now? Did you shave this much time off of your Cindy or whatever, right? Like that's awesome because it gets them out of their head of like, where's my body fat percentage, and it gets them into progress. Just getting better and better over time. So I think personal trainers could take a beat from that. Sometimes they're so obsessed with macros and, where's your body fat percentage? Did you lose weight this week? That's the worst one, I think. But, when it comes to the other way, I think CrossFitters can maybe just learn to I don't know what they could learn from personal. I mean, charging more might be it, and making sure everything is lumped together. Again, maybe I'm biased because that's what we did. We lumped it all together. I feel like sometimes I see some CrossFit boxes who are like, yeah, we have our standard membership, then we also have our nutrition package, then we also have our group coaching, and they kind of sell it all separate. So I don't want to, repeat myself too many times, but I think putting it all together would be good. And also, even if you do a MRR model, like a monthly recurring revenue model, you should still have like benchmarks for goals for them. Progress is important, but some sort of goal, right? Even if it's just going through this workout faster, or losing this much body fat percentage, or even if it's just measuring their stress, happiness, energy, like some sort of benchmarks I think would be great. And maybe that's not personal training, maybe that's just what we did, but yeah.
I think it's great advice. I think a lot of people get someone in the door, they become a member of the gym, and then they're just like, cool, show up to class, and there's the accountability isn't there. Yeah. Pricing. You mentioned that. You think a lot of gym owners aren't charging enough.
I think almost all gym owners don't charge enough. They kind of do it backwards. They think they have to charge a little bit, get a bunch of people results, and then they can charge people more. But the problem with charging a little bit is that when you charge a little bit, you're only a little bit invested in your actual transformation, whether it's becoming an elite athlete, becoming a bodybuilder, or losing 50 pounds.
And did you charge too little at some point and then go through that yourself?
Yeah, so we used to charge, when we opened, we actually offered all types of sessions, yoga, Zumba, everything, and boot camp, which was probably the closest thing to a CrossFit. It was an insult. It's nothing like real CrossFit, but it was like a HIIT style workout, and we charged $130 a month for all access to all of that. And what we found is I charged that little not because I thought that's what it was worth, but because I was desperate for clients. And so what kind of clients did I get? Desperate clients, and people who are looking not for the best, but for the most affordable, and people who want to go to a place that's small because they want to avoid the other people in their life, so they wouldn't refer clients. So I found I was attracting the type of people I was at the time. I didn't realize it, but I was super scarce, desperate, penny pinching, and those are the type of clients I brought in the hood there. And when I started selling high-end programs, I literally lost almost all of those clients, which was real scary. But I started getting clients who got way better results, who never complained, who never missed session, who checked in, who welcomed new people, who weren't like trying to become this little clique, and they were paying literally triple the price. So I was charging $130 for maybe 6 people in a session, and it was basically personal training, but I was calling it not personal training because they each had their own programs. And then after one of my mentors recommended I raise my price, I started charging $1,000 for a 12-week program.
Yeah, so you were working with a coach. They recommended raising the price.
Yeah.
You had resistance to that?
No, because at that point, initially I had resistance to it, but at that point I was like, I'm tired of being broke. There was this income barrier. I couldn't get past $10,000 a month ever, no matter what I was doing. I was like 9,999, literally some months. Couldn't get past $10K a month. And then, by the time I started selling high end, our worst month was like maybe 13 or 14,000. So like but I probably hired the coach too late. I should have hired them earlier. I shouldn't have had to consider laying off half my people and closing my gym. But
I think that happens a lot with first-time business owners.
It was, yeah.
And then, if it's your second, third, or fourth business, you just know that you have to have a coach earlier on.
Totally, yeah. I pretty much always have a coach at all times right now. Sometimes I'll go through little breaks just because I'm not sure what I want to do, but I think you're going to speed up your whole life by 5 to 10 years, literally. I don't know if I ever get those gyms to $500,000 if I didn't have the coaches I had. And some of them sucked, to be honest.
Some of the coaches sucked?
Some of the coaches sucked, but all that investing in that coach did was it showed me it made me okay with investing in myself and looking at return on investment, and it made me look for what to not buy, right? Taught me what not to look for in a coach. And, some were great, some were okay, some were good, bad. And it's okay because at the end of it, I learned something at the end of every single time, even if it's only a little bit, and even if it doesn't have an ROI today, in a year, 2 years, it will.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the things I found is by having a really great coach myself, I became a better coach.
Yeah.
Instantly. Like, I have a business coach, and I became a better fitness and health coach.
Yeah.
Because I got to see all the principles that were being laid out, and I go, oh, these are where things are the same. And investing in yourself, it makes it a lot easier to demand that of the people you work with.
Yes, because you're not like being a hypocrite anymore. Like you almost feel, at least I did, I felt hypocritical when I first started as a personal trainer because I had never had a personal trainer, nor would I have invested in one at that time because I knew everything. Little me knew everything. And after I started having business coaches and I made it, I'm like, well, I'm investing in myself. I have no problem asking you to invest in yourself either because I really do believe that you can lose 20 pounds or whatever, and be happier and feel more aligned and have better relationships with everybody just by starting with health and fitness. So that's what really helped me. It helped me get better with investing in myself and allowing others to invest in themselves.
Excellent. AJ, awesome. Where can people find more about you?
More about me. So you can go to ptfreedom.co. There's no M there, just .co. And they can kind of check out there's like a free case study on how to get, high-end clients in your gym. You can also just find me on Facebook, facebook.com/AJ Rivera official. And that's a cool place to reach me as well.
And we'll put all those links in the show notes.
Totally.
Thanks for joining us today.
Dude, thank you guys for coming up. I
Thanks
really
for having
appreciate
us.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, AJ.